Pennsylvania Dutch heritage on both sides of our families. So what we're going to do today, we have this series that we started by chance on YouTube called Ask a Pennsylvania Dutchman.
It's actually kind of an interesting story. A while ago, there were these things called accent tags floating around online. And what happened is they'd have all these questions that they would ask. And they'd want people from Italy or Germany or Spain to say these same things so they get an idea of what the accent sounded like. So I came over to Doug one day and said, hey, we ought to try this accent tag because nobody knows what PA Dutch sounds like and we got to observe this.
So we drank a couple beers and then we did it.
And somehow we came up with the idea to ask questions to an old stereotypical Dutchman because they have a very certain
way of looking at the world.
That's very much different than everybody else's. So we wanted to
But it's the right way.
It is the right way.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
It's the only way. So we're going to teach you how to do it.
Yeah, right. So anyway, this series has taken off to date. We have almost 80 episodes. Some of them have thousands of views, and we're really great. You know, we're really thankful for everything and the support we get. And people keep sending us questions, which totally blows us away too. So we try to look at the world through the eyes of a stereotypical Pennsylvania Dutchman, and we try to bring a little humor, but also teach a little bit at the same time. So we're bringing to you live today. We'd like to talk a little bit, and this only works if you ask questions. And they can be dumb, because we're good at talking pretty dumb.
Yeah, we do pretty often.
Yeah.
So you can ask pretty much anything you want. This show is entirely dependent on how long you want it to be. It could be 5 minutes long, or it could be 3 hours. Who knows? So it's if you want us out of here,
we're only here till 1.
Oh, okay. You can chase us down.
Yeah, right. So somebody has to have a question, right? And seriously, maybe if you're not Pennsylvania Dutch, or you wanted you heard about something, and you're like, well, I want to know. I don't want some, as we say, hoogtelandelij, some high-educated so-and-so to give me an academic answer. We're going to give you the everyday answer. So if you've always wondered something about the Pennsylvania Dutch, or you heard a stereotype and you want to know if it's true, or, I don't know, you remember your grandfather saying something you never knew what it was, now's your we got somebody standing up already. Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
I tell you what, Doug, I enjoyed you on the internet, and I am getting back to my Pennsylvania Dutch roots. I'd like to know, how does a man court a girl at the start?
At the start. Well, don't
we have to start with this question?
No, everybody starts out that way.
You're right. Well, actually, it's kind of funny you ask. So I have to tell a story. We were walking around the folk festival yesterday with the cameras and everything, and we were over at the Kutztown Lodge group, and we were talking with David Adam, and he told us a story. He said, I was a young boy, and I was interested in girls, but there were all the farms around him, they were all boys. So he decided he had to do something to find girls. So there was a barn dance coming up, and he talked to his brothers like, that, they'll be there, you just gotta go. So he goes, he said, I don't know how to dance. And they said, well, all you gotta do is whatever the caller says, you do it. So, okay, we'll see how it goes. So he goes to the barn dance, and he just did what everybody else did. This girl went right up to him. It was like love at first sight. But then he was a little worried, you know, he came farm boy and he didn't know how he'd get along with hopefully the future in-laws. So he said the first time he met her parents, he went to her house, and the dad came out and he looked pretty rough. And David said he was a little worried. And the old man talked in English right away to him. And David said, I'm going to put my big boy pants on, I'm going to say it in Dutch. I'm going to start speaking Dutch to him. So he did this, and the pop looked at him and said, you're okay, buddy. And he said that was it. He goes, they liked him more than the daughter after a while. I guess the answer to the question is, if you can speak Dutch...
Yeah, you got any girl you want.
You can get any girl you want. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of people think Pennsylvania Dutch sounds, you know, everybody always says, oh, French is such a beautiful language, or Italian is the language of love. I think that's a bunch of hooey.
Oh, heck yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I think English sounds a little, we're used to it, but if you really listen to English sounds kind of weird too. But Pennsylvania Dutch,
it's got a flow to it.
We sing in the dialect. Yeah. I mean, when we speak Pennsylvania Dutch, we are sing-songy people, much more than the Italians. And, you know, the Italians are talking with their hands all the time. Pennsylvania Dutch, we don't. We can use our hands for other things while we're talking. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're an efficient people.
We are an efficient people.
And, you know, to touch point on what you were saying about picking up the ladies, I got a personal experience I'll tell you quick.
Okay.
You know, so I started seeing this gorgeous girl about a month and a half ago, and you know what really does it for them is the banjo. You know?
Really?
I asked her on a date, and I do this on purpose. I bring the banjo.
What, ask her on a date?
Well, yeah.
Okay,
and I'll bring the banjo.
You take a banjo on a date.
I sure do. I keep it in the car. You know, you always got to have a spare banjo in the car for this occasion.
Okay.
So, this girl said to me one day, you know, I really love the banjo. And I thought, wow.
Stop. Was there something wrong with this girl?
Well, I went home and I told my dad, I said, hey, Pop, this girl's really pretty. I like her. And she says she likes banjo. He's like, oh, no. You gotta be suspicious of any girl that says she likes banjo. But I'm telling you what, it works. I'm telling you, if you have one in your car and you walk up to a girl and say, hey, you want to learn how to play this? They're gonna say yes, and then we'll get their number.
Well, I'm gonna have to start carrying a banjo around.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, right here, we had a true story. Is it, were you on a date and you had, this is Mike Herzog, he's a famous banjo player here. The famous banjo player from Ruska Manor Township. Did you go on your first date with a banjo?
Can you agree with this?
Yes, I'd have to agree with you guys, 100%. So I didn't want it to get out. I didn't, you know.
Well, you don't want everybody on the secrets.
You don't want everybody.
See, this is proof that we're not just stupid up here. What we say is true.
And you got different banjos for different occasions. You got 4-string banjos or 5-string.
Yeah, it depends on how long the night's gonna be.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta switch. You know?
Sometimes. Yeah, that reminds me of a joke. You know, we talk about love and everything and courting. It's a great question. You know, the Pennsylvania Dutch, we like to talk stupid and tell jokes. We're talking about love and relationships. This old couple, well, they were older and they were starting to have problems with their physical love life. So they decided, well, maybe we can do something about it. So the old lady goes to the doctor and she tells the doctor that, you know, what's going on. And the doctor says, well, that's no problem. We make pills for that now. Oh, really? She said. Yeah. You take one of these pills, you're not going to have any problems in the world with that department. And she says, well, I don't know, my old man, he doesn't like to take pills. He can't take pills. Anytime he tries to take a pill, he chokes. And the doctor says, well, does he drink coffee? Oh, he drinks 3-4 cups every morning. Doctor says, I got it. Tomorrow morning when he's drinking his coffee, sneak a pill in. He'll drink it and he won't even know he had it. Oh, that sounds okay. Because, but now listen, you're getting up there in age. I want to see you in a week. I want to know that everything's okay, you know. Sure. So a week goes by. Mom's back in the doctor's office. The doctor says, so how'd it go? She says, well, I did exactly what you said. The other morning, I snuck one of those pills in his coffee. Yeah, and? She goes, well, let me tell you something, doctor. It wasn't no 30 seconds. He jumped up from the table, he pulled his pants down, he threw me on the table, and we had a wonderful experience. Like we hadn't had in 40 years. The doctor says, oh my God, that's great. See, I told you the medicine would work. She says, yeah, but there's one problem. The doctor says, well, what's the matter? She goes, well, we can't go back to Starbucks.
That one snuck up on you, didn't it? Well, we're going to save all the other jokes for
Yeah, well, how much more questions? Yes, sir.
What's the difference between Pennsylvania Dutch and Mennonite Amish?
Sure. So this is a great question, so we can teach some people about some things. So when we say Pennsylvania Dutch, that's the general term for all of the people that fall under that umbrella, people that came from Europe to North America, and some academics argue over the dates, but I always just blanket statement say from about 1680s until around the time of the Civil War. So Germans and Swiss that were coming from the Rhine Valley, the Palatinate, Hessen, Baden-Württemberg, these are states in current-day Germany and Switzerland, and they all came over. But among that group, there were tons of various religious groups within them. Predominantly, there were 4 major ones, of course. There were the Amish and the Mennonite, which are Anabaptist groups, Christians, but their practices are a little different, their dress and so forth. But then you also had the 2 other major Christian groups that came were Lutherans and what would eventually become known as the German Reformed Church, which today is the UCC, the United Church of Christ. But we get the term Pennsylvania Dutch because they were all from generally the same region, they all spoke a similar language. They had similar customs, similar foodways, traditions that they brought here to the New World, to Penn's colony. And why Pennsylvania? Because William Penn said, I don't care what you practice religiously. He was a Quaker, tolerance was really important in their faith. Just come to Pennsylvania, we have land for sale. So they did, and a lot of these Germans, well, what we would consider Germans today, and Swiss came here, and the term then was eventually, there's a long answer on why we're called Pennsylvania Dutch, but that's what it means. We're all the same, I guess we could say ethnicity in that sense, that we're all from that region in the world. Where we differ the most between those groups is based on our religious beliefs. And then of course nowadays, well, as you know, younger people aren't going to church as much anymore, so we're starting to see at least what we call the Church Dutch. Those would be the former Lutherans and the UCCs, and like the Moravians. That's another group that falls in. We aren't necessarily associating with that church aspect anymore, but I think we still hold on to the aspect that we are Pennsylvania Dutch people. Where the Amish and the Mennonite, their faith is a huge symbol of who they are, and it defines who they are. But we all speak, you know, well, not all of us anymore, but a lot of, you know, that language was what unified us as an ethnic group. There are some similarities, some differences between the Amish and the Mennonite, how they speak Pennsylvania Dutch as opposed to the Pennsylvania Dutch that I grew up hearing. But it's always intelligible. We can talk to each other, but you can hear some differences here and there. And that comes with the fact that the Mennonite and the Amish all started in Switzerland, came up the Rhine River Valley, and then they settled in the Pfalz for about a generation or so, then they got on a boat and then made their way here. So that when you say Pennsylvania Dutch, and you could say Pennsylvania German, the two terms are interchangeable. But that's what that means. It's those people, and we're all under like one big umbrella, but we're all a little different. Just like here, we're sitting under. This is Pennsylvania Dutch, but we're all a little different underneath. But we all have some connection some way, whether it's ethnically, our language, our food, or the way we celebrate holidays, things like that. Great question.
Fantastic. We have another one out there.
Yes, Kevin.
All right, so you told us about the women, and we're going to have the song, but now I got to ask about the wine. Back in the old country, people drink wine, the Rhine wine, but we don't do that here. Why not?
I'm totally speculating with my answer, but I think the fact that it was that back in Germany, a lot of those, the grape barbers and the vineyards, those were hundreds of years old already. You know, there are grape plants that were planted by the Romans before Germany was even Germany. And I think when most of our forefathers got here in the 1600s and 1700s, well, there were no grapevines around other than wild grapes, but there was access to grain. And I think that's why you find, if you look at a lot of the early 1700s, there were a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch involved in distilling, especially making applejack. We started planting a lot of apple trees, and we were making that as our drink. And then beer. But the wine culture was something that just got lost, I think mainly because when they got off the boat, there weren't a lot of access to quality grapes for wine. But we started making wine out of the things that were here, like other fruits as well. You know, we started making some fruit. Yeah, this idea of applejack was extremely popular during the colonial era. I mean, George Washington wasn't happy with the Pennsylvania Dutch in some aspect because of that. So, yeah, the wine culture that's still over there. If you travel to the area of Germany where our ancestors are from, that particular region drinks way more wine than beer. It's not that traditional band with the big glasses like you think of in the Hofbräuhaus in Munich. It is a wine culture where a lot of our people come from. Not all of us, but a lot of us. Yeah, it's something that was different here. And I think it's important. We have this film crew here today, and why we do what we do. There are a lot of things that we can look back to Germany and say, oh, this is the same, or this is the same. But then we can really look back and say, well, there's a lot of differences too. For 300 years, we've been here as a people intermixing with other cultures, with the English, with the Scotch-Irish, and we developed our own culture with a heavy influence from, of course, where we came from. But we developed on our own as a truly American identity too. You know, the Pennsylvania Dutch, who weren't Amish and Mennonite, we have fought in every major conflict in the American Revolution, in the Civil War, and then of course through the World Wars as well. I mean, we've been around. We are a piece of the American quilt. And I think what's great about us is, and the reason we have festivals like this is that, this might get me in trouble, but our culture for 300 years, we're still speaking our language, we're still eating the same foods, we're still celebrating our weird quote-unquote holidays like Groundhog Day. And a lot of other ethnic groups and cultural groups that have come over in those 300 years, they've lost a lot of that. And I think that's one of the things that I'm the most proud about as a Pennsylvania Dutchman. That I know that when I speak Pennsylvania Dutch, I'm speaking something that 8 generations were also speaking. Or when I sit down to stuff pig stomach or pork and sauerkraut at New Year's, that's something that I know my 5th great grandfather was doing exactly the same. And that it's who we are, and I'm so proud that we can do stuff like this and preserve it and pass it on to another generation of American Pennsylvania Dutch, or Pennsylvania Dutch Americans, whichever one you want to say. But it's, yeah, those differences and similarities are important. They really are. It makes us unique, but we can also say, we can also tip our hat to the old country too with a little bit of what we do and who we are. Yeah, good
question. Anybody else out there?
This is serious. We need some stupid questions.
Yeah, we need something real out there.
Do you guys know who the Belschnickel is?
Yes.
Well, if not...
Well, let's keep them in suspense. Let's do another joke quick. Tell me the one I like about the pigs. We PA Dutch, we like picking on city folk, and I just love that one about the pigs. Come on, you know this.
So, these 2 city folk guys, they're from Philadelphia, they came up, they wanted to go out in the country and they wanted to buy pigs because they heard about how great Pennsylvania Dutch pork products were. They thought, well, we're gonna cut out the middleman. We'll go buy pigs in Pennsylvania Dutch country, we'll drive them back to the city and we'll do it all ourselves. They had no idea what they were getting into. But anyway, they came up here somewhere in Kutztown area and they bought 2 pigs. They threw them in the back of their truck and they're driving back down to Philadelphia. And after a while they're driving and the one guy says to the other, hey, which one's mine and which one's yours? Well, I don't know. I have an idea. Pull over. So he pulls over. The guy gets out of the truck and he gets his pocket knife out and he nicks one of the tips of the ears of the one pig off. And he goes, all right, the one with the nicked ear, that's mine. The one with the other one, that's yours. Okay, they jump back in the truck, down the road they go. Well, they're bumping along, and all of a sudden the pigs start fighting in the back. And this happens. Pigs can be that way. And in the process, the one with the nicked ear bites the top of the other one's ear off. Son of a gun, now they look exactly the same. What are we gonna do now? I got another idea. Pull over real quick. So he pull over and he gets his pocket knife out and he cuts the tail off of the one, or a little bit of the tail off. Well, the one with the shorter tail's mine, the one with the other tail's yours. Okay, they go down the road again. After a while, the pigs start fighting again. And son of a gun, wouldn't you know it, the other one bit the other one's tail, just like the other one. So now they're like, geez, almighty, what are we gonna do now? I don't know, we're gonna have to drive and think about this. And they drive a little while. And after a while, one guy says, I got it, I know now what to do. You take the black one, I'll take the white one.
Oh, I love that. Na kannst du eins auf Deutsch sagen? 6 Wiesens bit.
That's a Don Brynier joke. I can't steal that one.
Oh, okay.
No, we'll keep it in English right now. How about, well, give us a question. Come on now. It makes it easier.
Or we can go back to the Belschnickel.
Yeah, we can go back to the Belschnickel for sure.
We let you pick, question or Belschnickel.
All right, so for those of you that don't know, and I'm really sorry you didn't grow up with this tradition, in the Pennsylvania Dutch culture we have this character known as the Belschnickel. And I guess we could say he's the equivalent to our Santa Claus, so he comes around Christmas time. But you know, here's the thing, he doesn't look like Santa Claus. You know, Santa Claus is all commercialized, he's happy, ha ha ha. And they always say, you know, parents can say, whoa, Santa's listening, and nowadays they have that stupid elf on the shelf. You know, I'm gonna argue that they stole that from us, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. So, you know, most kids grow up and yeah, parents might say, well, Santa Claus is watching, but, you know, in the end, those kids are going to wake up Christmas morning and there's going to be gifts there on the floor.
Yeah,
they're spoiled.
What's a gift without trauma? Well,
I agree with that, yeah. Like your girlfriend and the banjo. So, in our culture, we have this guy, and traditionally, it was an idea brought from Germany or from that area of Europe over here. And the idea is, in the old days, there were guys that would actually dress up, and they wear traditionally this fur coat, and he's supposed to be a little mean. Well, more than a little mean sometimes. He would have a sack full of stuff, but then on the other hand, he always carried a switch, so some sticks of some kind. And he would have his face all smeared up, and you wouldn't know who he was.
I mean, think if you compare that to Santa Claus. Santa Claus is like an empty thread. It's like, oh, you're gonna get coal for Christmas.
Yeah, and this guy would.
I'm gonna beat you with sticks.
That's right. So what would happen is local guys would dress up the part, and then they would go around to farm in December, and they'd come in, and the kids knew it. When the Belschnickel came to your house, that was, well, it was a traumatic experience for sure. You stood there, here comes this guy dressed like a monster almost, walks in, and you're a little kid, you're nervous. And then the Belschnickel, he was a local guy, so he knew your name. Could you imagine that? In walks this guy you don't know. He's like, oh, Chris, I remember when you hit your sister earlier this year. And you're like, oh my God, this guy knows all this stuff. Because he talked to your pop or your mom before he came, of course, and got all the dish. So they would come in, and then sometimes, depend on who played the Belschnickel, how mean they would be or how funny they would be. But usually, whether you were good or bad, you got a slap across the backside, just for good measure, you know. And then traditionally, maybe you would have got some nuts, as like some walnuts or something like that as a gift, or maybe an orange if you were really lucky or something. So there's no Barbie doll playhouse or anything like that. But when I think about that story, I always think about that is a very good way to raise kids. Because instead of just making empty threats, some are gone, here comes this guy, and you know he's coming every year, you're going to think about that throughout the year.
Yeah.
Because the worse you were, probably the harder he hit you, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know,
I am not, well, we got time. I am not condoning the hitting of children, unless it's the Belschnickel.
Yeah.
Then it's okay, right?
You got a free pass if there's
Free pass if you're the Belschnickel, yeah. But that's our traditional Christmas gift giver, you could say.
You know, I happen to be a retired Belschnickel. And do you want to tell the story of...
No, go ahead.
No, you can
No.
It's about the first story.
I did a lot of talking already. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, well, so Doug came to me the one day and he says, hey, I need a Belschnickel, no one else will do it. And I said, well, those are pretty hard to find these days. There aren't many Belschnickels. I don't think I've ever met one, really. And so we scrambled around for a couple of days, and I got my Belschnickel costume together, and I went over there to...
I have two little kids, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I thought this is going to be great. Gonna scare the crap out of them, just the way it should be.
So I was practicing, I got the accent, everything, I was learning all my Dutch phrases.
And of course, Chris knows the kids, so he came in the house, and he's like, oh, all this stuff, yeah.
So I start walking in from 3 blocks away in the snow, trying to make
the neighbors didn't talk to us for 3 weeks.
Yeah, like I figured they're gonna know it's a fake if I don't have inches of snow on my coat and things. So I get there and I start hammering on the door, and then Doug's like, oh, who's that? But he only speaks Dutch to his kids, which I think is fantastic. So he walks to the door and comes the door, and I'm in my scariest outfit. I got my accent and the little Estella Rose.
Yeah, you didn't have to do much to your face at all.
Yeah, nothing. I didn't even trim or shave or anything. See, I'm pretty equipped for this.
Yeah, I know. That's why I picked you.
But yeah, so little Estella comes running to the door and she's like, "Oh, Uncle Chris." I'm like,
I quick said, no, nay,
that's the Belschnickel, he's scary.
This is the Belschnickel. And my son, who's only 2, well, he freaked out. And I mean, he freaked out. He took off through the kitchen screaming and he hadn't even came in the door all the way. So it worked on the one.
Well, not the other.
Not the other one.
So 50% Belschnickel.
I guess you didn't act hard enough. You should have acted a little better.
Yeah, I guess.
But it was a funny story. We have it all on video. It was cute. It's one of those things where you're all excited as a parent. You're like, oh, I can't wait for this. Get their expression. And he walks the door, and right away my daughter says, oh, Uncle Chris. It's like, oh, yay. But, yeah, well. That's the Belschnickel.
So, any more questions? We got 2 questions.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any, they have a dog race, they have a horse race, do they have any kind of race for the Grundsalad?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, isn't it about time to start?
The Kutztown Derby.
Oh.
And we all show up in our suspenders and our straw hats instead of the fancy Kentucky bonnets and all this stuff. What would our drink be? Instead of a mint julep, what would we drink? Sauerkraut juice.
Oh man, can you imagine the announcements of that? Oh, we got 6 more months of winter coming around the bend. No shadow coming up the rear.
No shadow coming up the rear. That's a bumper sticker.
You can pre-order those now.
Yeah, that's copyrighted. No shadow coming up the rear. Hey, that's pretty good. I like that idea. We'll run it past.
Wie sagt man auf Deutsch? No shadow coming up the rear.
I don't know. A shadow is a shadow. Dan hoeft die hinterzijde, vielleicht die hoeft die hinterbakken. Yeah, I don't know. It's funnier in English, I think, in that case. But that was pretty good. No, but we'll approach the Groundhog Lodges here, and we'll see what they think.
Well, the best kind of drink is what I like to say is prayer wine. You don't know prayer wine?
Maybe
You don't have a
maybe I know.
hangover?
Maybe I know something. Maybe I noticed something else. I don't know.
Some of the English say pear, like a fruit.
Yeah.
Well, can't you make wine out of a pear?
Sure, you could.
It's always good to have a good pear.
Gotcha. I agree. Throw us another question. Here we go.
Something dumb.
Yeah, well, that was dumb. That was good.
Well, now let's think of, while we're on the vein of fruits here, why don't we talk about that joke about strawberries?
This Amishman had a load of manure, and he came to a four-way stop somewhere out here in the Maxitawny Township or something. And old Dutchman was sitting on his front porch there at the crossway, and the Amishman comes up with his load of manure, and he stops at the stop sign, and the old Dutchman says, "Hey, what are you gonna do with all that manure?" And the Amishman says, "I'm gonna put it on my strawberries." And the Dutchman said, "Geez, that's really funny. I put sugar on mine."
That's the kind of thing that I always joke about when I was going to school here.
In Kutztown.
Yeah, I have a bit of a Pennsylvania Dutch sense of humor, and I'd be telling jokes like that to all my friends, and they just don't
It just
get it.
didn't work.
Yeah, I like to think it was above their heads, you know.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. Give us something else.
Give us a good one. Anything you want. That's brave of us.
I know. Yeah, no. I like the challenge. Yeah.
Fellow from New York was driving off the side of the road and with his horse and wagon and stopped the New York ride into town. But the third time he says, is that good for your lips? He says, no, his lips are chapped. He says, is that good for chapped? He says, no, but it's good for lips.
That's right.
What's the one with the cow and the glass tube?
Oh,
Remember that one?
the cross-eyed cow.
Yeah, that one. Now tell us that one.
Give him the microphone.
Give him the mic. Walk over.
We got this one for you.
This cow, this farmer has is cross-eyed, and he doesn't know what to do, so he calls the vet, and the vet comes out, and he takes a tube and sticks it in the cow's rear end, and blows in it, and the eye is straight down. And that farmer says, well, that sounds simple enough. So a couple weeks later, goes out, the cow's cross-eyed again. He goes in, gets the tube, and it blows in it. Nothing happens. So he calls the vet. The vet goes, what did I do wrong? He said, well, let me show you. He takes the tube out, turns it around, puts it back in, and blows in it. He said, well, why did you turn around? He says, well, I don't want to put my lips on the part you use.
I hate to say it, Doug. He tells that way.
Yeah.
We're doing auditions for new Dutchman.
Yeah, well, that's all right. No, that's pretty good. Oh, yumma yay. Hey, give me something else. Yeah.
All right, here, let me give it.
This is a little cleaner, but my grandfather always said to me and his other grandchildren, "Kutztown and then he would teach us the response. Ja, richtig hakken blijven.
Yeah, so that's a great phrase for people out there that didn't grow up with the dialect.
That's introductory.
That's how you. That's like, you know how like some secret societies have like a handshake or they wear a lapel pin or something.
If you are Dutch now and you want to be,
we can teach you the password today. And since it's a folk festival and in honor of America's birthday tomorrow, we'll do it for free.
Yeah. Now you're gonna have to use this as like a secret passcode to get into all your friends' houses or bars. Or
No, we want you to teach other people this because it's
yeah.
I mean, outside of about the 5 surrounding counties, you can't really use it anywhere else. But if you use it here, it goes back to that story with David and his future in-laws. If you can walk in and use this phrase, and the person says the right answer, or if someone asks you this and you give the right answer, the world's your oyster, I think, if you say that. Yeah.
That's how you know someone's worth talking to. If
Absolutely. That's right. So here's the deal. This is a very famous Pennsylvania Dutch phrase. So one person goes to the other person and says,
"Kannst du me gevangen?"
"Kannst du mich gevangen?" So say it with me. "Kannst du mich gevangen?" Which sounds kind of funny, but it means, can you catch flies? And if the other person's on the inside, they're going to know to respond, "Ja, want Sie hocken bleiben?"
When they sit down.
Ja, want Sie hocken bleiben? Let's all do it. Ja, want Sie hocken bleiben? Which translates into, yeah, when they sit still. Now it sounds kind of funny. So someone walks up and, "Hey, can you catch flies?"
Yeah,
oh yeah, when they
still.
sit still. In English it doesn't make any sense, but to a Dutchman, those two phrases, it's like music in your ear.
It's like peanut butter and jelly,
Or whatever, yeah. Apple butter and cottage cheese.
beer and red beet eggs.
Red beer and red beet eggs. Those two phrases go together. And like I said, if you meet somebody, now this is how you find the good people. You're out walking around. You're at Walmart, and you're walking down the aisle, and some person's coming towards you. Be brave. Be brave. Be proud to be a Dutchman, and say, just walk up next to him and say, "Hey, kannst du mich gevangen?" And but there's a couple things that can happen. I understand that. Don't do it in the ammo section. Maybe do it in the fruit aisle or something. I don't know.
Make it real awkward. Do it in the lingerie.
Yeah, that would be really.
Gee, that's how you pick up ladies. Hold the banjo and say, "Hey, country."
But now, like I said, they could turn and look at you like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" Or they could hit you, maybe, depending what. Well, you gotta be careful. But if they turn to you and then say,
They give you that look.
that Dutch look, and they say, "Want Sie hocken bleiben?" It's it. You're done. It's over. I mean, you might as well go out to dinner then with them. I'm telling you. You're in like Flint. And and here's the secret. We've been doing this for years, and those who aren't Dutch don't know about it. They think we just look weird in the stores or whatever doing this stuff, but we're trying to find each other. It's like the Lost Tribe. Yeah, PA Dutch
It's like
matchmaking.
OK Cupid and Plenty of Fish.
What would we call if we started?
The barnyard, I guess.
Oh, that's a good one. If we started like an online dating service for just Pennsylvania Dutch people, or people that want to date a Pennsylvania Dutch people because they've heard how great we are, the men and the women. So they have all this like farmers. What's the one?
Farmers Mingle.
Farmers Mingle or Farmers Only or something, and we have Tinder and all these things. But we should start one for just Pennsylvania Dutch. But we'd have to come up with a kind of a good name for it. But I don't know.
Oh, do we have any name suggestions?
Yo, help us out if we start a website like that. That'd be pretty good. Well, you don't have to do it now, but email us and maybe we'll get going on that. We could make people's lives better.
Yeah, we're on to something here.
Dutch Blitz.
I thought you said Dutch lips. I thought. Get you some.
That takes me back to that joke. Yeah, but it's good. I like that.
I'll wait, Doug, and you have to go on to the next part of it.
Yeah.
Und the Schubkarre.
Und the Schubkarre. Okay, so the Schubkarre, that's a great Pennsylvania Dutch word. Do you know what Schubkarre is?
Kenny.
Kent's net. Okay, who out there knows what a Schubkarre is? Kevin, tell us. A wheelbarrow, yeah. If you have a good night on, you might wake up in the Schubkarre. Maybe. Or the Futtertrog. That's where the kazi, yeah, the feet trough, yeah. Oy, oy, oy. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you if I ever woke up in one of those two things.
Oh, I'm sure.
Would you believe me if I told you I woke up in a cornfield one morning without pants on?
Yes.
Yeah, you never told me that story.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Oh yeah, we got another question.
Yes, this one has to do about the last one with the slogan, like that. I grew up very Pennsylvania Dutch, but I can't speak it 100%. I wasn't lucky enough to have a good brother to teach me. And
I really feel bad for you, buddy.
I know. I didn't have a good brother to teach me. But the thing is, I know some slogans. Why do they only teach the bad stuff first?
Well, that's a good question.
To see if he can handle the rest of it.
Oh yeah, that might be. You know, that's my brother, by the way.
He's got some good Dutch jokes.
He's got some Dutch jokes too. But you know, it's kind of funny. I've been working with this German film crew, and we've been going around interviewing tons of people. And they always, when we ask them, when we talk about it, well, did you grow up with the language? It's always it's a common story. My grandparents spoke it, but they only spoke it when they didn't want us to know what they were saying.
I always got yelled at.
Or I only got yelled at in Dutch, and I didn't know what it was anyway. And well, we just never learned it. And that's a common story post World War II here in Dutch country for a lot of people. But there are certain phrases that those kids, even though they didn't speak much, they didn't grow up speaking the dialect, there's a couple phrases a lot of people know. Like the Kutztown Folk Festival and that, but a lot of them also know good curse words. If we ask somebody, when we meet somebody in these interviews, we say, okay, what Dutch do you know? Or what Dutch do you remember? It's almost always something bad. And they always say it, well, it's pretty bad. I said, well, that's alright, say it anyway. And they can spit it right out.
Perfect accent.
Perfect accent, yeah, like they've been speaking it their whole life. And it is kind of fun. I don't know why that is. I guess maybe because it's the humor aspect of it, you know.
Why don't you give us one in Dutch?
No, I'm not going to do that. Well, I will give you one. And this is kind of funny. Because I do break easy. This is gonna, to someone who doesn't know any Pennsylvania Dutch, a word that we use a lot when something's not going right, or you know, we say the word thunderstorm. Now, to an Englishman or someone who speaks English, that sounds kind of funny. You imagine some guy's out in the field and the tractor stops working, and all of a sudden he's yelling, "Thunderstorm! Thunderstorm!" Well, that sounds kind of funny. But in Pennsylvania Dutch, you know that guy's got problems.
If you're serious, you say holy thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah, he says holy thunderstorm. Yeah, and then he might say holy, holy thunderstorm, and again. We say that a lot in Pennsylvania. Heilig Donnerwetter noch einmal. And that, you know, if there's, but literally, if you translate it word for word, holy thunderstorm once again. See, you get these English people, they say some of the dirtiest and nastiest stuff in English, and here we are, and we're saying things like that.
Keep it clean for the family.
Keep it clean. That's just who we are. I think it speaks a lot to, you know, I always say that Pennsylvania Dutch, you know, most of us grew up in some kind of agricultural background, and farming is really important. And here's where I'm going to get on my soapbox. I think that talks a lot about who we are as a people. We have been connected to this ground for 300 years here in America. And some of the people we've been talking to making this movie, the one woman said, I like to think of the Pennsylvania Dutch as a quilt. We all come with little pieces, little swatches of the quilt, and somehow we've all been sewed together. I thought that was a really nice analogy. But I really think the idea of farming and working the earth has kept us, no pun intended, has kept us grounded. And it is, our humor is agriculturally based. I told you a joke about pigs. You know, it's who we are. And I think that's important for us to maintain that connection with the earth. I think if we lose that, we lose a huge part of our culture. So continue to support those local Pennsylvania Dutch farmers that are selling their wares at the farmers market, so that we don't have another 50-house development going in.
Or any of those small businesses.
Yeah, right. Because a lot of times they're Pennsylvania Dutch. I tell you, you go up to that stand and you slip that Kutztown microphone, you might get a free apple or something.
And everybody likes free apples.
Yeah, what the heck? Times are tough, buddy. What's beside him? Okay, so we're going to take a break from this, but Chris and I do a lot of music as well, and we thought we'd play 2 or 3 traditional Pennsylvania Dutch folk songs for you guys, if you don't have an issue with that.
Unless you got some burning questions.
No, but we'll answer questions too, whatever you want, at your will. Or we could play a couple of these songs and then take more questions, because we're here till about 1 o'clock. We have about 20 minutes left. I only chose 3. And if you know these songs, and I know that some of you do, sing along, okay? So just give us a second here to get our instruments on. Talk amongst yourselves. Try that Kutztown Folk thing out on your neighbor. Tell your neighbor a joke. So this first song is called Ich und Du, which means, translates into I and you, and this is a pretty popular old German folk song, or Pennsylvania Dutch folk song. So it's singing about, I can do this, hope you can too, I don't do this, hope you don't do it either. But the chorus is really catchy. The chorus goes, oh, we're singing, you and I are singing, oh, we're clapping, you and I are clapping too. So even if you don't speak Pennsylvania Dutch, I think we can all clap in Pennsylvania Dutch. Yeah. And I know some of you know how this song goes, so when we get to that part, we'll play through the chorus and but Mike, you know when to clap for this song, I'm sure. When Mike claps, you clap. How's that sound?
Making sure everybody's, participating.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There will be a test.
We talked a little bit about the church, Dutch, and Lutheran and Reformed. And, our faith plays a really big part in who we are, and it really did for hundreds of years here. So one of the songs that I decided, we try to do as much Pennsylvania Dutch stuff we can when we play. I decided we have to do at least one hymn. And I took a hymn. We were sitting in church one morning trying to pay attention, and anyway, we sang this one hymn, and the words really spoke to me as a Pennsylvania Dutchman. So I said, I'm going home and I'm going to translate this one. So I translated Jerusalem, what is the English? My happy home, or something like that. And I translated it into Dutch, but the song sings about the earth and how we're connected to it. And I just thought it was a pretty song, and maybe you recognize the melody, but we'd like to sing this one for you, all in Pennsylvania Dutch, translated from the English. singt im Himmelsdom. Jerusalem, mein fröhlich Leben, da will ich mit Gott sein. Denk mein Trauern enden, all dein Fried, ich will singen.
You know, we usually do that one on banjo, but we didn't want anybody following us home.
Yeah, that's it. All right, we're gonna do one more, and this is a traditional song that a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch know called High Lee, High Low. Maybe you know it. If you don't, sing along. It's a funny song when you look at the words. The first verse goes, we have a barn full of old cows and they're staying in manure up to their knees, and we butcher the calves and we sell them, but then we give the money to the poor people. And then the chorus, we'll teach that real quick, is High Lee, High Low, High Lee, High Low, bei uns geht's immer wie länger wie schlimmer. High Lee, High Low, High Lee, High Low, bei uns geht's immer. Yeah, so if you know that, when we get to that chorus, play in the right key off the back. Son of a gun, how about that? So this is in D if you're dancing along, okay? Sing with.
We saw some people singing out there. You're more Dutch than you think already.
Okay, well, we have time for about one more question we'll take, and if not, then we'll shut up. That's fine, too. Although, as my wife says, that's difficult to get me to do sometimes, but I'm usually telling her the right way to do something. I don't see why she don't get that sometimes, but
in the right way to do something silently?
The Pennsylvania Dutch say if you're gonna do something, you do it right the first time.
And complain about it the whole time?
No, that depends. There's some Pennsylvania Dutch might be that way, but no, how about one last question?
Yeah, I think.
If not, we'll go into... Yes! Yes!
We got one.
I know. Yeah,
oh my God, yes. If I get to heaven,
and it's not that,
and there's no Diefenbach chips and Wayhar ice cream, I'm gonna be disappointed. But I know that there will be. There will be. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah, it will.
you're starting a 55-minute...
I did my doctoral thesis on what you put on top of ketchup.
Let's pull the audience now.
All right, time out. All right, there might be people here, there might be uninformed brethren that don't know what scrapple is. So this is real quick. So scrapple is a breakfast, well, traditional.
A breakfast meat of champions.
It's a breakfast meat of champions. So when we butcher, traditionally in the Pennsylvania Dutch, of course, we never threw anything away because you don't throw stuff away. Not like today. But anyway, so you got done butchering your pigs, and whatever was left over, well, you kind of threw that in a big pot, and you cooked it down, and
even
you added...
the oinks.
You add even the oinks, yeah. And you cook that down, and you add things like cornmeal, and then some spices and herbs, and that gets cooked into what looks... looks like gray pudding.
And it's divine.
But then traditionally you put it in like what looks like a bread loaf pan, and then that will chill and it'll harden up. And then breakfast traditionally, but you don't have to eat it at breakfast. So at breakfast then you would slice that, and then it would be pan fried. And a lot of the restaurants around here, if you're not from around here, if you're in the area, stop and get scrapple and try it. But there is a huge debate, and I would say on the point of, it could break up marriages, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some horror stories about this.
There have been.
An argument.
And I have this with my wife.
It's ketchup or syrup.
Latbarik, apple butter is also popular.
Oh, yes.
So now listen, here's the thing. And, you know, as long as you're eating scrapple, I really don't care what you put on it.
I really think I wanna start some conflict here.
Okay, first off, raise your hand if you've eaten scrapple. Oh, look at you. Hey, we are among our people. All right, now, let's be honest. Raise your hand if you didn't like it. It's all right. It's all right.
You can all leave.
It's all right. We'll wait. Now, as Chris said, there's three big ones for toppings. There's the ketchup group, there's the apple butter group, and then there's the weirdos that eat syrup on it, like my wife. So, let's find out right now. We have a random sampling of Dutchman and Dutchwomen.
No, don't be shy.
Yeah, and then there are the purists with nothing on top. They're the real weirdos.
They're a strange breed.
They're probably from like Montgomery County or down that way.
Let's see some hands.
All right,
for
ketchup. Come on, my brothers and sisters.
I'm doing it too. Yeah,
all right, hands down. Syrup.
Oh no,
that joke didn't go too well.
I guess we're not coming back next year.
And for the congregation, apple butter. Latbarik. I think syrup wins this debate.
Yeah, what about nothing? Who eats it straight up?
Nothing.
Yeah, we got some straight up.
Plain.
Oh man, it's a tie between syrup and straight up and apple butter.
Well, for those who haven't had it, please try it. There's a lot of great places you can get it here and make it at home. But yeah, it's one of those foods that I think is another thing that says who we are, that it speaks to our resourcefulness and not wanting to throw anything away. And that's another way you can tell a Dutchman or not. I mean, scrapple is a giveaway.
See, that's like if...
Tell them what it's called in Dutch.
So the Dutch word for scrapple is panhaas, which translates into pan rabbit. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know the history behind that word. So if anybody does, you can raise your hand, then people can talk to them afterwards. But yeah, that's the Dutch word for it. It's kind of funny too. I'd like a slice of pan rabbit, please, with syrup. See now, if you walk in a restaurant and you say it Pennsylvania Dutch, you know, stick panhaas haben. Well, but you walk in and say, I'd like a piece of pan rabbit with syrup on it. That sounds a little weird, doesn't it? Just like yelling thunderstorm when your tractor breaks. Thunderstorm! Yeah. Well, guys, it's been great.
Oh my God, one more question. One last question.
Has anybody else here ever heard the term gutta being used for
Are you talking about... Yeah, okay, all right. This is real quick, and I only learned about this last year. So there's Cincinnati is... Oh wow, we got... I bet they're Buckeye fans too. So in the city of Cincinnati, I just learned that Cincinnati is known as Porkopolis. They produce so much pork products in Cincinnati, and they have something called Goetta. G-O-E-T-T-A. At least that's how it's spelled on the packaging, but everybody in Cincinnati calls it Goetta. And a good friend of mine married a girl from Cincinnati. And she moved here to Pennsylvania and she had scrapple. And she said, what is this crap? No, you gotta be eating Goetta. when we were talking about this, I'd never heard of it, so the next time they went to Cincinnati, I said, well, bring some back for me. I'd like to try it. Because she goes, well, it's like Scrabble, but it's better. I thought,
That's fighting words.
That's fighting words. There's nothing better than Scrabble. Just more Scrabble. So what it is, and if you're ever out that way, because I can't find it anywhere else, it comes in a tube form, and you slice it, just like that. And it's pork pudding like Scrabble, but then they mix in pin oaks instead of cornmeal. And it does have a little bit of a different taste, but it comes out having almost the same texture, and it looks like Scrabble, but it's a knockoff. We've been making...
counterfeit.
Hey, here's how we prove it. We were making Scrabble before Cincinnati was even a city. Oh, heck, we've been here since 1680. My God. Yeah, but no, that's something I learned just recently, and I'll have to admit, it is really good. It is good. Well, it's like Scrabble, but not as good as Scrabble.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't our first draft of the Constitution written in Dutch after a play to Scrabble?
Well, I'll tell you what. If the Founding Fathers had all been Dutch, then we wouldn't have half the problems we have today.
Oh, that's
Amen to that.
All right, well, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll end on that controversial topic. We'd first like to thank the Kutztown Folk Festival for allowing us to actually asking us back again this year. I had to ask if Bill Donner was joking when he called me about this, but we appreciate the opportunity to come and do this stupid stuff that we do.
If you want to see us here next year, please put in some words for us.
Yeah, say something, and we'd love to come back, of course. Please, if you get a chance, talk with the guys with all the camera and sound equipment. That's the German film crew that's here making a documentary about us, the Pennsylvania Dutch. It's a really great project, and we're hoping that when it's done in about a year from now, post-editing and all that stuff, that we'd like to do a premiere or a showing of the film somewhere here, maybe in the Reading Goggle Works or at the Kutztown Strand. So if you have connections to people with those organizations and you think that'd be something that they would appreciate, talk to one of these guys or myself after here. But again, Chris LaRose from Mount Etna, Walberstädtel.
And we got Doug Maidenford, our resident Pennsylvania Dutchman.
From Centerport, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
So,
look for us. We have our own YouTube channel where we put out these stupid videos pretty often. But I also do some videos that help teach about the dialect, learning words and phrases here or there. And I always say this, even if you learn just 1 or 2 words, that's something. And hold on to who we are. Do what you can to tell your kids, teach your kids how to count, even if it's 1 to 5 in Pennsylvania Dutch, so they recognize that, because it's an important part of who we are, and we don't want to lose that, that's for sure. But thank you again, you've been a great audience. We'll be standing over there if you want to talk to us, signing autographs, taking pictures, whatever you want.
I guess until next time,
hopefully, Macht's gut.
If you have a question, why you have to email us at busterpa@yahoo.com.